It's lovely to be with you once again. I hope you're settling well back into school. It's been a long time since you've been in school, so we hope you're enjoying being back with your friends and your teachers, and you're enjoying learning some new stuff again. We hear that your new topic is thankfulness, and we are really thankful to be back with you. And thankfulness means expressing gratitude, and that's a good thing to remember, isn't it? To say thank you. And sometimes we need a little bit of a nudge to remember to say thank you. Now, every Christmas and every birthday, my mum used to get me to write thank you cards, because sometimes I would get so excited with unwrapping things, I'd forget who anything was from. And the poor people who'd bought those lovely gifts for me would be wondering if I'd got them and if I was enjoying them. So I would write thank you cards to them to remember, and to remember to say thank you. Now, Pete's going to come and tell you a story today about somebody who forgot to say thank you.
As Wendy said, it's great to be back with you, and we're going to be telling you a story of Jesus, a story we find in the New Testament part of the Bible. It comes from Luke's record of Jesus' life. We find it in chapter 17. And there's a group of people who come to Jesus. I wondered if you can guess how many people came to Jesus in this particular story. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4? No, it wasn't even 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were 10 people who came to Jesus. They came to Jesus and they had a problem. And they thought Jesus might be able to help them with the problem that they had. Because we're told that they had leprosy. Now, leprosy is a disease which is still in some parts of the world today, but you can get treated for it. But in Jesus' day, there wasn't any medicine and there wasn't any cure. And they came to Jesus because their disease meant that they had been those who couldn't mix with anyone else. They had to leave their families and their jobs, they had to leave where they were living, and they had to go and just live with other people who had that illness. They were excluded. They were put outside of their community. It was a terrible thing to have. And you couldn't come near to other people. So these 10 men with leprosy come, and they come to Jesus, and they say to Jesus, Jesus, can you help? Can you help? And so Jesus says, I'm going to send you to see someone. I wonder if you can guess who Jesus was going to send these ill people to see. What do you think? Well, maybe Jesus would have sent them to see a doctor. Or perhaps because it was a particularly difficult disease and illness, maybe he'd sent them to see a surgeon. Or perhaps they'd have gone and said, go and see the nurse, because they'll be able to help you. Or perhaps Jesus was going to say, well, no, you go down to the local chemist and you see the pharmacist, and they'll give you some tablets or some cream for your disease. Or maybe you've got another idea about who Jesus might have said go and see. Maybe you think Jesus said, well, go and see the farmer who lives in the fields. But no, Jesus said something which would seem very strange to us today, but we need to remember that in those days there weren't many doctors, and if you could see a doctor, you'd be very, very rich. Only the most rich people could go and see a doctor. And there weren't many medicines, and they didn't have surgeons and nurses and chemists. They couldn't help you. But Jesus says to the 10 men, go and see the priest. Go and see the priest and see what he has to say. So the 10 men set off to see the priest. And you might think, well, that's a bit funny, because when I'm ill, my mum or dad, whoever looks after me, they take me to the doctor or to the nurse, or they get some medicine from a chemist. They're not going to go and send me to see a local vicar or a local priest or a local minister. But in those days, when you were ill, that's who you'd go and see. You'd go and see the local priest. And these days, if you see a hospital sign that's up outside a hospital, you'll notice that it's got a, what shape is this? Yeah, it's a cross. A cross like you see on lots of churches. Because in olden days, it was churches and monasteries that would look after ill people. And lots of our hospitals, our old hospitals, have names like Saint somewhere. Because it was churches that began hospitals years and years ago. Now, of course, it's run by the government. But in those days, they would go and they would see a priest. So off the 10 men went thinking, it's a bit strange that Jesus has sent us to go and see a priest. Why didn't he do something? And as they go to see the priest, something remarkable happens. They look down and they see that now the illness and disease that affected their skin and how they were feeling, it was all clear. They were all well. They were feeling great again. They'd been healed. Jesus had done a wonderful miracle for them. But on that journey to go and see the priest, they'd all been cured of their disease of leprosy. Now, I don't know whether you've had a very special gift. Because for these men, that gift was not just that they were made well again, but it gave them their life back again. Because now they could return to their families because they were well. They could go back to work. They could go back to living in their town or in their city or in their village. It was giving them not just a cure of their disease, but their life back. It was a wonderful gift. What's the best gift that you've ever had? Have a little think for a moment. I thought of a few things that maybe it could be. Perhaps it was an Xbox. Maybe you've had an Xbox for Christmas or for a birthday, and that was the best thing that you've ever had, the best gift you've ever had. Or perhaps your gift might have been something else. It might have been, well, it could have been a holiday. Perhaps the best gift that you could have had was somewhere fantastic that you went. And you always remember that being the best holiday ever, and you were so glad that you went. Perhaps you've been given a new shirt as part of your best gift. Maybe it's from your favourite football team, which of course needs to be Arsenal, because that's the best team, isn't it? Although you might be Southampton fans, I don't know. But you might have had a new football kit, and you thought, that's the best gift I've ever had. Well, Jesus gave to these men not just this miraculous cure of their disease, but he gave them their life back. Now, as Wendy was saying at the beginning, when we've been given a gift, particularly a special gift, we should be those who say thank you. But we're told in this story that although it began with, do you remember how many there were? Yeah, that's right, there were 10, and all 10 of them were cured. We're told at the end of the story that only one man comes back to Jesus, finds him, and says thank you. Wendy's going to tell us a little bit about what that story might mean for us.
Isn't that an amazing story? How all those people were cured by Jesus of that terrible disease, and they were able and probably were really excited because they could go back and live with their families again. They could have jobs again. People wouldn't point at them in the streets anymore, and they could rejoin society. So it was a really big thing to be cured. But the sad thing was that only one person remembered to go back to Jesus and say thank you. And sometimes we forget, don't we? We forget to say thank you. Like I was saying about my mum nudging me to write thank you cards, sometimes we need to practice an attitude of gratitude. And we need to remember those big things that we're thankful for. And sometimes we forget that we have homes that we come from and families that care for us, that we have enough food on our our tables, that we have shelter over our heads, that we don't live in places where there's wars going on. We have really big things to be thankful for. So perhaps this week you can remember to say thank you, to develop a little bit of an attitude of gratitude, maybe in school or at home, but you can begin to say thank you.